Every time the girl took a bath, she would sing her favorite song, but suddenly, a man's ghost appeared in the bathtub, and that ghost turned out to be her late boyfriend. The girl's name was Hinako. She had grown up in a seaside town, so surfing became her greatest joy. After graduating from high school, Hinako secretly applied to the local marine university. Hiding it from her parents, her graceful figure riding the waves caught the eyes of the boys on top of the fire station. Minato confidently told his friend Wasabi, "That girl is my hero," but despite her sunny and confident appearance, Hinako's life was a total mess. Without her mother around to take care of her, she couldn't even cook a decent omuris. That night, a group of delinquent kids were setting off fireworks on the roof of an abandoned building. Sparks flew and accidentally ignited Hinako's apartment. The fire spread in an instant. Hinako, asleep, was awakened by thick smoke choking her lungs. She grabbed her beloved surfboard and ran out of the room, but missed the last elevator down. In a panic, Hinako had no choice but to run up toward the rooftop. At the same time, the nearby fire station received the emergency call. They quickly locked in on the location of the fire. Wasabi turned to Minato and said, "Your hero lives there." When the firefighters arrived on the scene, they immediately began preparing to extinguish the blaze. But by then, the fire had already engulfed the entire building. All the residents had been evacuated to the ground floor. Only Hinako was still trapped on the roof. In that critical moment, through the exploding fireworks, a figure emerged. Hinako froze. She had never seen such a handsome firefighter before. And just like that, Minato successfully rescued her. As Hinako kept thanking him over and over again, Minato replied, "I should be the one thanking you." That made Hinako very curious, but Minato didn't explain. He just said he wanted to see her surfing again, to repay him for saving her life. Hinako happily agreed. A few days later, they met up to surf together. Along the way, Minato gently explained some basic fire safety tips to Hinako. Then, Hinako noticed that the ornament hanging in his car was a dolphin, and it had the exact same design as the one on her surfboard. Even the song Minato was playing in the car happened to be her all-time favorite. This made Hinako start to feel a special connection to Minato. Soon, they arrived at the beach. Minato was a well-trained firefighter, but as a first-time surfer, he was hilariously clumsy. It didn't take long before he was completely out of breath. But what surprised Hinako even more was that Minato turned out to be an amazing cook, and the coffee he made was even more delicious. Minato had a great sense of humor. He always made Hinako blush with laughter. As time went by, they grew closer and closer. They say the most magical phase of love is the ambiguous period. Only those who felt it truly understand. Hinako would check Minato's social media updates every day, and Minato would stare at Hinako's photos and smile like an idiot. In the days that followed, they surfed together, went on drives together, saw movies together. That evening, the sunset was exceptionally romantic. The two of them held hands and kissed for the first time. In the days that followed, Minato and Hinako's love heated up quickly. They traveled to distant places together. Minato's handsome looks always drew attention from other girls, but he never paid them any mind, because to him, Hinako was his entire world. On Minato's birthday, Hinako gave him a giant dolphin balloon. The two of them took a photo together to capture the memory. They spent a beautiful time that only lovers could share. Minato had a quirky younger sister. She didn't seem to like Hinako very much, and she bluntly said that only fools fall in love. But instead of getting angry, Hinako found Yoko to be absolutely adorable. On Christmas Eve, they visited a building known as a sacred spot for couples. Over the loudspeakers, they heard confessions from other couples being broadcast. Minato heard that as long as an appointment is made with the host, one can broadcast whatever they want to say. Hinako thought it was incredibly romantic. Looking at the wall covered in declarations of love, Hinako picked up a pen and wrote her name down too. Then they hung up a love lock to symbolize their unbreakable bond. At that moment, snowflakes suddenly began falling outside the window. Hinako excitedly told Minato that beautiful waves appear after a snowfall. Legend says that if you can ride them, your wishes will come true. Sadly, she had to work the next day, but Minato quietly tucked her words deep into his heart. That night, neither of them went home. They pitched a tent in the thick snow. Minato made his favorite dish for Hinako. Ever since falling in love with Minato, Hinako had become especially dependent on him for everything. She also hoped that, like Minato, she could one day find a job she truly loved. The next morning, while tending to the flower shop, Hinako suddenly received a message from Minato. He had gone surfing alone at the ocean. Just as he was about to tell her something, he saw someone drowning. Without hesitation, he rushed into the sea to save them. At that moment, the flower pot in Hinako's hand fell and shattered on the ground. She was overcome by a sudden sense of dread. Hinako didn't care about work anymore. She jumped on her bike and raced toward the beach, but when she arrived, she saw ambulances. Hinako's heart filled with fear. She prayed that nothing had happened to Minato. In a daze, Hinako spotted Minato's surfboard on the shore. Her heart ached so much that she fainted. The boy who had been drowning was saved, but Minato lost his young life. Not long after, Hinako moved to a new place. Maybe being farther from the sea would help ease the pain in her heart, but she still kept calling Minato's phone, even though no one would ever pick up again. Yoko and Wasabi brought over some of Minato's belongings. The moment she saw them, tears instantly welled up in Hinako's eyes. Wasabi, meanwhile, was already sobbing uncontrollably. He had never imagined that the person they were trying to rescue that day would be his best friend. If only he had known sooner, maybe Minato wouldn't have had to sacrifice himself. After they left, Hinako once again picked up her phone and dialed Minato's number. Still, no one answered. Her emotions completely collapsed. She desperately wanted to know, what was it that Minato had wanted to tell her that day? So she went to Yoko and got Minato's phone back. Hinako tried every password she could think of. Her birthday, Minato's birthday, the date of their first date. None of them worked. Yoko and Wasabi started worrying that Hinako might fall into depression, so they invited her out to clear her head. But in the familiar coffee shop they visited, Minato's favorite song suddenly started playing. Hinako couldn't help but hum along. Then, something magical happened. Minato, who had passed away, suddenly appeared inside her glass of water. Yoko urged Hinako to snap out of it, saying Minato was gone for good. But to Hinako, the Minato in the cup felt incredibly real. Soon, she discovered, as long as she sang that song, Minato would appear in water. She shared this discovery with her best friends, but they all thought she had lost her mind. To prove she wasn't crazy, Hinako went to the largest reservoir nearby. Then she jumped right in without hesitation, and this time, she clearly saw Minato underwater. Even though she couldn't physically touch him, it gave her hope to keep on living. Hinako quickly asked Minato for the password to his phone, but he seemed embarrassed and made up all sorts of excuses to dodge the question. The next day, Hinako bought a pretty new water bottle. She brought Minato to visit his old co-workers at the fire station. Wasabi noticed Hinako's strange behavior and became seriously concerned for her mental state. Later, Hinako took Minato to the beach to watch the sunset and revisited the sacred lovers' spot they had once gone to together. In hopes of being able to touch Minato, Hinako filled the dolphin balloon with water. Just like old times, they danced together, went shopping together, bought clothes together, and sang songs together, until one day, Hinako accidentally fell and was helped up by another guy. That's when Minato realized he could no longer do anything for her. If things kept going like this, how would Hinako face the rest of her life? So Minato said to Hinako, "I want to see you surf one more time." But by now, Hinako had long since lost the courage to face the waves. Minato's drowning had left her with a wound far too deep to heal. Minato told Hinako she needed to face the future, that he was only a passerby in her life. Minato said he hoped she could find someone who truly loved her. Hinako was furious. She didn't want to start a new relationship, whether Minato was alive or just a ghost. She only loved him. That day, Wasabi showed up with flowers and confessed his love to Hinako. Turns out, he had fallen for her long ago. On the day of the apartment fire, Wasabi had also rushed to the rooftop. He had desperately hoped he could be the one to save Hinako, not Minato. Hinako was startled and overwhelmed. She ran into the bathroom and summoned Minato from the water in the toilet. But Minato said that Wasabi was a trustworthy guy, and that if Hinako was willing, he wouldn't stand in the way. But Hinako's answer was firm. She only wanted to be with Minato. Her emotions began spiraling out of control. She had already experienced the pain of losing Minato once, and now, she couldn't bear to lose him again. Hinako ran out, crying. Suddenly, a truck crashed just a short distance away. The resulting explosion quickly burst into flames. Wasabi rushed to shield Hinako, but Hinako said, if Minato were here, he wouldn't hesitate to go save people. Right after, she summoned Minato, and he put out the fire. But this time, it seemed Minato had used up too much energy. He became extremely weak. and nearly vanished into the sky. Hinako cried out his name in panic, but Wasabi shouted, "Even if we don't want to admit it, but Minato has really left." Right away, she filled the dolphin balloon with water again. Minato appeared in the water, but this time, he seemed to be in a deep sleep. Hinako thought, maybe she had summoned him too many times, and that's why he ended up like this. From that day on, she no longer dared to summon Minato so freely. She was afraid of losing him again. Later, Hinako found out that Minato's sister, Yoko, had started working at that same coffee shop. Turns out, this girl who always appeared very indifferent, actually loved her brother deeply. She wanted to fulfill Minato's dream, to one day open a cafe. Hinako also visited Minato's home for the very first time. Yoko told her, "My brother could do everything, to everyone else. He seemed like a genius, but only I knew how hard he worked, because their parents were always busy with work." Minato had been the one cooking dinner for her since they were little. In the beginning, it tasted awful, but he kept practicing with cookbooks over and over. After Minato passed away, many people came to their home to pay respects. They all said Minato had once helped them. Helping others had been his life's purpose. The reason he lived that way was because, when he was little, he nearly drowned, but was saved by a little girl. Minato always said that girl was his hero. When Hinako saw a photo, she suddenly realized something. She rushed home in a panic and asked her mom to find the old newspaper article. August 8, 2006. Hinako saved a drowning little boy. She even made the news that day. That little boy was Minato, and that song he loved so much was the very song playing on the beach when he was rescued. In a daze, he had seen the dolphin pattern on Hinako's surfboard. That day was the day Minato was reborn, and the most important day of his life. Hinako finally knew the password to Minato's phone. This time, the phone finally unlocked. She found the text message that had not been sent successfully yet. It was his wish. He hoped to watch Hinako ride the waves forever, but more than that, he wanted to be with her always. Hinako held back her tears as best as she could. She decided she had to do something for Minato, so she applied to become a lifeguard on the local beach. Not long after, Yoko and Wasabi started dating. Everyone's life seemed to be slowly getting back on track, but that day at the cafe, those same punks who had caused the fire years ago showed up. It was Christmas Eve, and they had invited a few girls to meet that night at the abandoned building to set off fireworks. Yoko overheard the entire thing. She was furious, so she and Hinako followed them. On the way, she even secretly took pictures of their faces, but they couldn't get in touch with Wasabi. Hinako urged her to call the police right away, but Yoko insisted on gathering more proof first. Soon, the Christmas bells rang, and fireworks exploded into the night sky. Amid the cheers, sparks once again ignited the building. Everyone started to run, but in the chaos, Yoko twisted her ankle. At the same time, Wasabi finally saw Yoko's messages. The location of their mission was that very same building. By the time the firefighters arrived, the fire had grown out of control. The water hoses were no match for the raging flames. Hinako wanted to summon Minato, but she hesitated. To extinguish a fire like this would likely cost him all his remaining strength. She couldn't bear to lose him again, but when she saw Yoko trembling in fear, Hinako made her decision. Maybe this was destiny all along. So, fighting through the pain, she summoned Minato one last time. Suddenly, a massive sphere of water surged from underground. It quickly engulfed the entire building. The firefighters were stunned by the surreal scene. The moment Yoko saw Minato, she couldn't hold back her tears. Minato led them through the water, guiding them safely to the rooftop. Once the fire was fully extinguished, the water faded away like an ocean wave receding. Minato hoped Hinako could ride this final, most beautiful wave. After seeing everyone safely return to the ground, Minato's wish was finally fulfilled. But now, it was time for him to go. Bathed in a gentle divine light, Minato slowly disappeared into the sky. This time, Hinako didn't cry, because she had honored their promise. From now on, she would face life bravely. Time passed quickly, and just like that, it was Christmas again. 1 year later, that night, to celebrate Hinako passing her lifeguard exam, Yoko and Wasabi took her out. Hinako still ordered her favorite omurice. As they were parting, Hinako suggested Yoko and Wasabi visit the lover's spot. Yoko, holding her boyfriend's hand with a smile. Told Hinako, people who don't fall in love are the real fools. After they left, a quiet loneliness crept into Hinako's heart. She gazed into the clear water of the fountain and instinctively began to hum that song. Suddenly, the building's broadcast system came on, playing the song they both loved so dearly. It turned out that Minato had arranged it a year ago with the host in advance. Hinako broke down in tears, crying her heart out. All the pain and sorrow she had held in finally flowed out as tears. She had thought time would heal everything, but how could one possibly forget someone they had loved?